It's the Off Grid Prep Family Podcast.
Hey everybody, on today's episode, we're just continuing our conversation from episode 10, which was the best appliances and gadgets for living off the grid. We rounded up what? We were talking about air conditioning.
Air conditioning, yeah. Did we finish talking about air conditioning?
I think the only thing that I thought maybe we should mention is if you don't live in a super humid climate, you could look at doing sort of a swamp cooler rather than an air conditioner.
I don't know. I think modern air conditioning and refrigeration technology is, it's so widely available now in different formats. Like it's
pretty cheap. Yeah, and if you live somewhere sunny and you need air conditioning, then you have power.
Yeah, and it's a simple math thing. If you have a solar array that can crank out, 2,000 or 3,000 watts consistently in the summer for those 4 hours, especially in the afternoon when it gets really hot, and an air conditioner uses about 1,500 watts. Well, probably close to 1,400 watts.
Yeah.
And so that math lines up, allowing for 600 or so watts, left over.
Yeah.
If you're only putting out 2,000 watts from your solar array. Ours puts out about 5,000 in the winter, and in the summer, because of our winter angle, we only get about 3,000 watts out of it.
Yeah.
So we have more than enough. And then you're talking about your inverter size, and our inverter will give a continuous 5,000 watts, so we don't have to worry about it overheating.
Yeah.
A 3,500 watt inverter is really fairly common now. So an air conditioner, to summarize, is really easy to run off the. It's no different than a dishwasher or an Instant Pot.
Yeah. And speaking of air conditioner, having a pool off grid is doable, and it does limit the amount of AC you have to use.
Yeah.
Because, a couple of dips during the day when it's really hot, everybody's body temperature gets cooled down, and you use your air conditioner less.
I've only recently learned about pools and pool technology.
Yeah.
If you have an expensive in-ground pool, you end up with a big pump.
Right. Okay. We have an in-ground pool.
We have an in-ground pool.
It kind of looks like an in-ground concrete pool, but it does not have the gigantic filters and the huge...
No, because that's obscene. Yeah. Like, the amount of power those motors use, it's like... I think the one motor that I looked up on Amazon, which was the most commonly used one, was 1,800 watts.
Yeah. But it's possible. I guess we'll do an Instagram post about the pool.
So our first ad of the day is Thrive Life freeze-dried food. We love Thrive Life food. It's American-made, non-GMO, high-quality freeze-dried food in large portions for the deepest layer of your food preps. We also use Thrive Life food for quick snacks and meals when we're running behind. Visit offgridprepfamily.com/friends for a 15% discount on your first order.
Nice. Okay, moving on. Oh, the curling iron. This is frivolous sounding, but you can get a battery-powered curling iron.
Yeah, they're amazing.
And it's like, it plugs into a little USB thing and charges up off just one of those little charger cubes. And then you can do your hair anytime, day or night.
Yeah, it's like a vacuum.
You don't have to worry if there's enough sunshine. You just use it when you want it and then charge it the rest of the time. You can even do it in the car on the way to the doctor's appointment, which I've done.
Innovations. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And washing machine... That's pretty easy to run off.
Really easy. A washing machine really only uses about 800 watts, which, as I've mentioned, is about half of what even one standard electrical circuit can provide safely.
Yeah.
So it's almost a non-issue. Like even if my batteries aren't really full in the morning, I'll still run the washing machine for baby diapers.
Yeah.
I won't even think about it.
We're doing a load or two loads every single day.
I'll wait on the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Right? But because that uses an enormous amount of power. But washing machine, no problem.
Yeah. And for your fuel savings, if you're doing like a on-demand propane hot water, we found that just using a decent detergent and cold water is perfectly fine. And then you're not...
We're doing fine. We just had to find good detergent.
That Nellie's laundry detergent that they sell in big buckets at Costco is kind of the best.
Yeah, and really, we found that even just regular Tide will do.
Yeah, but
just
we use
original. But the Nellie stuff is better.
Yeah, and then you can use it in your gray water. We
pump our gray water into our garden. So.
We get ours from Costco. It's the best price, but we'll put a link on our site to the Amazon one. Moving on to tools. There's some things to consider for off-grid tools. One thing that we really like to do is use as many cordless as
Yep.
possible, because then you're literally fueling them with solar when you recharge them. You're not,
Yeah.
screwing
In the
around with gas and stuff.
Well, in the last 15 years, as most people, at least who've done a little research, know, lithium-ion batteries have just become the mainstay, and they're I wouldn't even consider looking at lead-acid batteries in any form.
No.
I don't care if they're
No, the
sealed.
time has passed.
I saw an ad just today about Charette batteries and how they're lead-acid technology. No, I've used it. They're garbage
it's a
in
dinosaur.
comparison. It's a dinosaur.
The days are over when
They're
you
still
have to
trying
go
to pump
hunting
out
around.
material.
Remember looking for used go-kart or
Oh, it was
golf
awful.
cart batteries,
Golf cart
was
batteries.
it? That's what everyone said.
And
to
they were
use?
still bad.
And that was about 15 years ago when we were like, this is garbage.
So with cordless tools, I'll do a quick story about my own comparison. When I was milling the timbers for one of our structures, I was hand milling them. I had seen chainsaw mills online.
We bought one.
We did. It was okay,
We ended up
but
just not using it.
it was hard to use. And I'm sure there are better ones. But anyway, all I did was set my trees up, whole trees on stands, and I just used a kind of a combination of a string line and basically my eye
Yeah.
to mill a straight line down this log, and I cut each tree into 3 sections, giving me 3 timbers. And I started using a DeWalt cordless chainsaw, and it was battery powered with a big, 9 amp hour battery, 50 some volts, and it was good. But the DeWalt chainsaw was like it was like a Ferrari. It was really fancy, but it kept breaking.
Right.
From what I hear, I've never owned a Ferrari, but that
Right.
seems to be the consensus. So anyway, Fiero? Ferrari. That's how old I am. Fiero. So anyway, the DeWalt chainsaw was good. But it kept breaking, and I had to get it replaced, and Amazon was great. They replaced it for me, no problem. But I decided to go. I said, hey, you know what? We have power and a big inverter. I'm just going to get a plug-in chainsaw.
Right.
Remember?
I do.
So I got this Works corded chainsaw.
Yeah.
And it died. I don't think I made it a quarter of the way through my first
Say
cut.
it was like minutes.
It was minutes. This thing just died. It had no protection.
Not only that, but you'd have to be constantly worrying about running over your own cord.
The power it used, like it pulled a solid 1400 watts, like a dishwasher or an air conditioner, until it finally quit. And you came out, you're like, what are you doing out here?
Yeah,
the numbers keep surging. And, and so I kind of refreshed my knowledge of motors, electrical motors, and basically AC tools still use what they call brushed motors. Which is
why they're so cheap.
Yeah. But brushed motors are horribly inefficient. Just like in a way you can't possibly understand unless you're an engineer. So cordless tools use brushless motors. They're also called BLDC. They're pure magnets. There's no physical connection. And combining that with lithium batteries, cordless tools are an absolute necessity. Yeah. Whether it's a cordless vacuum, cordless curling iron, which doesn't have a motor in it, but same technology, and cordless tools. I have a cordless table saw. Milwaukee and DeWalt and Makita, they make an entire range of
just pick one,
like a
so
wild
that you
range
can
of
switch the batteries
tools.
out.
Yeah.
And then as far as like the outdoorsy sort of tools, we chose to go with Ego.
Yeah.
Because we really wanted their snowblower.
Well, their battery line is
and
the
the
best.
battery line is good.
They
so
have
we
the
have the Ego chainsaws, and we have the snowblower.
Snowblower and the weed trimmer.
Weed trimmer, yeah.
And I'd like to get maybe the push mower, walk behind, just the push mower.
They
have a zero turn.
Whoosh motor, but I'm not the person who has to use it.
Yeah, it's the mechanical, the old turbine thing or whatever it is.
Can you talk to me real quick about generators and what to look for?
Yes, off the grid. The generator starts with your inverter. A really nice inverter will actually only accept what you would call clean power. That's a whole other episode. But in order to get actual clean power, you need what's called an inverter generator.
Right. You cannot just go buy
a magnetic old style generator which has a brushed motor. Actually, I think our inverter generator has one too. But you have to buy something that puts out a clean, pure sine wave.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to wreck all your gear.
Right.
And this is really important. So there's lots of inverter generators out there. The one that I have is a Furman generator. It's a W03083 is the model.
Yeah.
And
in the future, I would like to get the tri-fuel. Or at least
that's
the dual fuel.
Let me finish quickly on the generator. The reason I have the Furman is it's I think its regular price at the Canadian Home Depot is $850. It's insanely cheap.
And it often goes on sale.
It often goes on sale.
Yeah.
I have 2 of them. I'm thinking about getting a third one. Also, their warranties program's amazing.
Yeah.
They send me parts, no problem.
And this is something that if you're living off grid, you need 2 because
you do need 2
is 1 and
or
1
3.
is none.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. What was the point?
Oh, what about getting like a dual fuel or a tri-fuel?
Oh yeah, so I have these Furman generators and a dozen jerry cans. That's my stock. I go through maybe a half a jerry can a month now since we added solar panels. Very little. However, gas doubled.
Yeah.
And propane did not. And very few people know that, but you need to get a generator that runs on propane.
Yeah.
Or at least can accept propane because the fuel didn't double.
And if you're a hobbyist and you want to do a cool experiment, if you got one that also runs on natural gas, you could feed it biodiesel.
No.
What do you call it? Wood gas.
Wood gas. Yeah. So theoretically, wood gas is a different thing, and that's another episode.
Yeah, we've
learned about wood gasification.
On wood gas.
Anyway,
but then
tri-fuel generator is definitely your best option,
options.
but it is trickier to find that in an inverter-based model.
If you're building your own house, I would totally recommend getting a concrete mixer, like a big non-electric concrete mixer.
You could go electric, but I don't know how much power that would use.
Yeah.
We kind of lucked out. They were selling 2 used mixers, and I bought their biggest one. Is 3 times the size of a standard one that you get at Canadian Tire or wherever, and it was a real lifesaver.
Yeah,
the way that
we've got an
shovel
Instagram
it in
post on that, or I'll post one today if we don't.
Yeah.
It's life-changing. The amount of
It
time
is life-changing.
if you're building and doing projects.
If you use one of those little barrel mixers, the one that does it at an angle, you spend most of your time just unjamming it inside.
So the last kind of general topic is about animals. How to keep your animals when you're off the grid and how to keep them alive.
Yeah, that's been quite the learning curve for us.
Yeah, there's a lot of things out there online. A lot of them aren't really talking about very cold weather.
Well,
or when they say cold, they don't mean Canada.
Farming or raising animals, and I mentioned this last time in reference to crops. We talked about it. It's not, we don't have a heritage in North America.
Yeah, and what they're doing now is so far removed from
far
what
removed,
people used
and
to
you
do.
said they don't grow food.
Yeah, you've lost like all that wisdom.
Yeah.
So you're having to figure it out all over again.
Yeah.
For baby chicks, number 1, if we're doing meat kings, we try to order them at the end of August.
We try, yeah.
Because they need very little heat, if at all.
Well, let's talk about the gadget portion. Okay.
But also,
so there are techniques.
You don't need heat lamps.
You don't need any heat.
Heat lamps are also very, very dangerous.
However, there will be people in more northern climates that will still need heat.
Yeah, if you've got baby chicks coming out in April, you can use heating pads that you buy from the pet store.
Yeah, or Amazon. And what they are is just for keeping dogs warm out of, just to spoil your dog, really.
Yeah. And they're plastic, and you can just hose them off. And then we also use something, it's called a wool hen. It's basically a box, like a milk crate. You insulate it on the outside, so it's cozy in there.
Right.
You hang strips of wool.
Yeah.
Little strips inside, like maybe 50 strips of like an old wool scarf or something.
Yeah.
Until they're not quite touching the ground. So the chick can't get all tangled up in it. And there's a little door where they can go in and out as they please. And it's just like they're going underneath mama.
So that's inside the big bin that we keep them in.
Yeah.
It's like a secondary structure.
Yeah. And so if they're cold, they go in there. And if
Yeah.
they're not, they come out. And
Yeah.
it's called a wool hen. There's some different ones online if you want to look it up.
Yeah.
I would say also, people are worried about heating your chicken coop. Never heat your chicken coop. Never. It should never be heated because, number 1, if you miss turning it on one day or something goes wrong with your heater or whatever, you've got an entire barn full of 60 dead chickens.
Yeah,
but
they're
number 2,
really sensitive
they
that way.
don't need it.
They
Chickens
don't.
put out enormous amounts of BTUs.
You just have to insulate the barn.
It has to be insulated. It needs to be ventilated, but not breezy.
Yeah.
Because they do put off a lot of moisture and they can make themselves sick.
Yeah.
And you need to close it up at night and have it small enough for the number of birds you have.
Yeah, we have 20 chickens right now.
20 that
we've
we
had
keep.
up to 60.
Yeah.
No, we've had up to 70.
Oh, we had 100 and some.
Oh,
but
right.
like if you're
right.
talking about like just egg layers that we keep year round,
Yeah, it's 20.
we try and aim for 20.
And
the barn is how
it's 6 by 16.
And that's about even maybe
It's a little big for those hens.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
We originally built it with a part of it being for a goat.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So just have an insulated barn that's not too big, and it gets down to minus 25 here.
Yeah.
In the winter, and they were more than fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, they despise the snow.
Yeah.
So in the winter, when it's really cold, we just open the big door on the one side, like the flap down door for them, and cold air comes in. But we found that it's that helps with the ventilation and it doesn't cool off too much.
Yeah. We have to thank our second sponsor today, EMP Shield.
Ah, yes.
It protects every device you plug it into from an EMP,
EMP.
a
Yeah.
CME,
It's coronal mass ejection,
And
electromagnetic
lightning.
pulse, and lightning.
So you can have a unit for your car, they make one for your generator, and they even make a unit that you just protect your whole home.
From what I can tell they have a whole range of things.
Yeah, so you can be completely EMP proof. You can use code OGPF, like Off-Grid Prep Family, to get $50 off any unit.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you can go to our friends and affiliates page to find the link. The last thing I want to talk about for animals is just planning your year to not need to use a bunch of stock waters and things during the winter.
Yeah.
We try to harvest our animals before the winter.
Yep, that's all there is to it.
It's just the circle of life. And, maybe you get some wiener pigs or a cow, a little steer in the spring, and you've got it in the freezer before Christmas.
The last time people in North America lived in what can be considered an off-grid setting, there was also no insulation. So now there's insulation, and I mean, I don't talk about enough how the straw bale thing has been such a wild success for us.
We have an upcoming episode on that.
But if you insulate your structure, the heat from the animals keeps it warm. That's never been done in North America.
Yeah, and their animals still survive. They didn't have heated stock waters, and they still have animals outside.
It's like
How'd
we're
they
in
do it on Farmaway? We just lost.
It's like we're in a real life Lord of the Flies thing.
Yeah, nobody has any
prevalent
knowledge anymore.
technologies still aren't great, and they don't use common sense because our great grandparents were children.
They just decided to forget everything. There are many people who we know who graze their cattle on crown land, and they don't have electric stock waterers out there, and those cattle survive. They frankly don't have water at all, and they
I feel
survive.
like the few people we know who do use electric stock waterers,
It's more of a hobby, maybe.
more of a hobby, but I feel like they're also the same people we hear negative. Like they always have something wrong with their cows.
And there's always a reason
Right?
why they can't live off grid.
Yeah.
And frankly, I think they hold on to those reasons.
I think so too.
So we harvest our animals whatever we can before the winter.
Yep.
We fill up our freezer. And then we start going through and cooking stuff and canning stuff and emptying that freezer out.
Yep.
And by the time spring comes, your freezer's almost empty. And then you fill it full of vegetables.
Veggies. Yeah.
It's the circle of off-grid life.
Mm-hmm.
Before we talk about anything else, I guess let's hit on electric fencing before we answer our listener question.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Electric fencing, it's really straightforward. You can get really great electric fencing kits from any feed store. And we've used the little solar-powered units.
Yeah.
Electric fencing...
They're pretty big. You can get a pretty
They
big
don't
paddock.
use a lot of power. They use a high voltage capacitor that runs on a charge-discharge cycle, like a tick, tick, tick. And it's not about the amount of power. It's just about the voltage that stings the animal.
Yeah. You have to train your animals to them.
Yep.
Like, you can't just buy a pig from the neighbor and put it in there and expect the pig not to just freak out and charge through the fence.
Yep.
But once they've been trained to it, they'll
Yep.
stay away from that fence.
They will.
For anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like
It
I
only
will.
takes once or twice.
It only takes me
we
once
didn't
or
train
twice.
a pig, but we did train a goat.
You can't train a goat, can you? Let's dig into our listener question, which was from our Opting Out of Broken Systems episode.
Yeah.
They wanted some references and things to use for, okay, you've opted out of the broken system, now what? Your life is just empty.
When you're experimenting with this, like we just kind of go for everything on our own.
Yeah.
And yeah, It can get boring
You're
quickly.
just sitting in the dark, twiddling your thumbs, reading the same book over and over again.
It's like you've pulled off a metaphorical tumor, and there's a hole there now.
Right. Yes.
And you got to fill that hole while
just
your body
fill it
heals.
with Jesus. No?
Oh my
Is
God.
that not the kind of podcast we're doing? Okay.
Let Jesus fill you.
Don't
That's
say it like
horrible.
that.
That's horrible.
That sounds awful. Okay. Anyways, resources we would recommend
Yes.
you look at if you're thinking about homeschooling. I like the book Battle for the American Mind. It's by Pete Hegseth with David Goodwin. It's great. Also, Mother Culture by Karen Andriola. It just gets you into that vibe of like having your kids home all day and not falling into that pit of craziness where you feel sorry for yourself. Habits by Charlotte Mason.
Dry, but
It's a
apt.
good read. Even our kids read it starting in high school.
Yeah.
The Well-Trained Mind by Susan Wise Bauer is epic. The Brave Learner by Julie Bogart, also a really good one. For math, we mentioned teaching textbooks. It starts at level 3. In my experience, that's about 2nd grade. As soon as they have basic addition and subtraction and can, reliably work the mouse on the computer, they're ready for level 3.
And the kids learn from each other, so it does get easier for the younger kids.
It does.
Like they pick it up faster because
Yeah.
they just kind of absorb it from the older kids.
Ambleside Online is what we use for just about everything else. And if you're not going to use them, I would at least recommend you go there and download their book list, because it is literally thousands of books that are not junk. They have no woke garbage in them. Your kids can read them on their own. Most of them are on Kindle for free. Christian Light Education we've used in the past. There are many of those sort of workbooky type homeschool curriculums, and a lot of them are actually the same. They all branched off of the same thing. So if you get like Alpha Omega or Monarch, or there's a bunch of them, they all have basically the same stuff. We like Christian Light because it's kind of cute and simple. The Good and the Beautiful, I've heard good things about. I haven't tried. Let's get into opting out of the food system. So these are 5 things that I would totally recommend if you're looking into like cooking seasonally and being more simple.
Can we recap our outline of how we've evolved our own food system?
Sure, go ahead.
I feel like that's important.
Yeah.
So to try and nutshell it, I've never used that as a verb before. I just realized.
To nutshell.
To nutshell it.
1 nutshells.
So anyway,
Congratulations, you invented a word.
when we moved here, we were still in the habits of conventional, 2 or 3 times a week grocery shopping and fast food.
It
when
was
we were
really
going out.
hard to get
It
out
was
of the
hard
fast
to
food,
break those
especially
habits.
when you're setting up your homestead and you have to go to town basically every day to
Diet
get
Coke.
Diet Coke, and you can't
Sorry,
get rid of
that's
that.
that's a
I'm gonna
Tropic
have
Thunder
to
reference.
cut that out because yikes,
Why? Did
it's
that
huge.
spike? Sorry.
Sorry, we
Diet
apologize. Tropic Thunder.
It was Tropic Thunder, but they were referencing Donald Trump.
That was like a reference
That
on
was
a
a
reference on a reference.
Epic reference.
Congratulations.
Anyway, so
It's hard to get out of those habits.
It was very hard, but the way we ended up through many years of trial and error, literally blind in the dark because it didn't seem like we could find any recipes, is we really went back to scratch. We went back to basics.
Yeah.
What do we have in the garden?
Yeah.
What's on sale? And we've recently added a company called Flash Food to our friends page. Flash Food recycles, they don't recycle. They take groceries that are about to be expired or, like the last few items left of a whole line of groceries on the shelf, and they compile them into a cooler and shelving, and they've got an app. It's amazing. So check out Flash Food. But, so we live on the sales. I hit the seafood truck the other day in town.
Yeah.
I got 10 pounds of mussels. Or no, what was it?
You got 10 pounds of mussels for $10?
10?
Yeah.
What did I get? Yeah, something like it. It was ridiculously
insane.
cheap.
Yeah. So
And-
if you have local food, and everyone has some kind of local food, maybe it's not mussels, but I bet somebody grows something.
There's more and more all the time, so
Yeah.
keep your eyes open for it.
And they're not going to advertise the way that Sobeys does.
No.
So you have to
so you just
look
have
for
to
it.
look around and be open to new ideas.
Yeah.
But the basics, what I'm getting at, is we're down to the rawest ingredients we can have: flour, sugar, any kind of fat, whether
Yeah.
it's oil. We rendered a whole bunch of beef tallow
that's
that we
very
use for a
handy.
multitude of options.
Yeah. What else? Oats, rice,
Oats,
especially
rice.
like arborio rice or
Yep.
things that you can use. You know, you make a really quick
Mm-hmm.
risotto. That's my last minute. Oh, I forgot dinner has to happen again today, and so
Yes.
you just make risotto.
Yeah, and so the way we did it was it was out of desperation.
Yeah,
We went really simple. We had a lot of spaghetti.
until we figured it out. I ate a lot of spaghetti.
Guess the movie.
Oh, knocked up.
Knocked Up.
Knocked Up.
Seth Rogen. I ate a lot of spaghetti.
I got like.
I got hit by a Canada Post truck like 5 years ago. I got like $900 off my account. I figured that'd get me through the year. Anyway, we ate a lot of spaghetti. We went simple, and we found that it was a really healthy start from scratch thing,
Yeah.
like a
Palate cleanser.
palate cleanser. Yes, we gave up on all the extravagant things because we could no longer do it and still live comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was, our daughter took an interest in cooking after you were getting
Yeah.
into more original recipes and trying to figure stuff out, and we just naturally grew into now. You guys make pastries and incredible baked goods.
Yeah.
And I learned to smoke meat. You know, like as a family,
We smoked our own beef bacon. It was amazing.
it was amazing with the toughest cuts.
Yeah.
And eventually, we have this incredible, diverse menu
Yeah.
of wonderful food that we make with mostly our own recipes. But it naturally grew. But we started from scratch.
Super simple.
Super simple, and our pantry is super simple.
And that's how we built our food storage too.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let's get a year's worth of flour.
Yeah.
Let's get a year's worth of oats. Let's get
Sugar.
a year's worth of sugar.
Whatever we can.
And then once
Whatever's on
that
sale.
pantry is full and you've
Yeah.
got a year's worth of everything,
And
then
you're-
you can get a little bit fancier and be like, you know
Yeah.
what, I'd like some more interesting oils, or I'd like some balsamic
Yeah, the
vinegar.
other day we got a bunch of hot sauce on sale.
Like 5 years worth of hot
We don't
sauce.
use it very often, but it's there.
I don't think it's gonna go bad
So it's
between
a
the chilies and
it's
the
a
vinegar.
holistic approach to food, and that's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah. So as far as like
Not-
recipe books,
Not necessarily organic. That's important.
we buy it when we can.
Yeah, we buy whatever the simple stuff.
But
we try to focus
and there's
on quality.
sort of those some foods that you really do want to kind of get organic if you can.
Yeah.
But I would frankly rather have a year's worth of food supply than
Mm-hmm.
have 6 weeks worth of organic.
How this ties into opting out of broken systems is, yes, the food system is broken.
Yes.
However, that means there's a bunch of shards of gold laying around.
Yeah. There are things that
It
you
has
can
been
pick
smashed.
up on.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you can just keep your eyes open. You'd be amazed what you'll find if you just kind of abandon your preconceived notions of what
Yeah.
you need to live on.
Just go into the grocery store with the same list you've had for
Yeah.
the last 5 years. You're not going to find those little nuggets of, wow, I can have mussels every night and my kids love them.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And it's like the cheapest protein ever.
It was ridiculous.
Okay, so cookbooks for that.
Mm-hmm.
The Amish Canning Cookbook we use a lot for
I do,
canning.
actually, yeah.
That's by Georgia Verosa. More with Less is the sort of Mennonite cookbook. That's by Doris Longacre. You have to try and find that at a garage sale or used. It's beige if you're looking for it. And it's got like a bunch of beans and lentils on the front. A Cabin Full of Food by Marie Beausoleil, I think her name is. She used to have that blog, Simply Marie or something like that, where they lived off grid. They didn't even have a fridge. So that's the kind of cookbook that is. A Year Without the Grocery Store is similar.
You know
Karen
what?
Morris.
The only thing I don't like about living without a fridge
Yeah.
is you have to eat every scrap.
Well, the thing about her is that they don't live off grid anymore. And I think she abandoned her blog. They gave up and moved to town. If you need seasonal recipes that don't require a lot of refrigeration,
Right.
that book is on Kindle Unlimited, as is A Year Without the Grocery Store.
Cool.
Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon is if you want to start getting into like real ferments and smoking and like nutrition and all those good, you know, kefir and yogurt and sauerkraut and all that good stuff. The sort of maybe second level after you've got the basics. Okay, the last thing, since we're almost out of time, how do you opt out of media, news, and culture?
You know, it was a process.
Yeah. We have a very heavily curated, very large DVD collection
Yes.
with lots of old shows and movies.
Instead of getting a month subscription to any streaming service, you
Just-
can buy one DVD.
Yeah. And
Right?
so
you're
every
talking
month.
$12 to $20.
Yeah.
You pick one, and there's
Like a
there's
whole
still
season of TV.
a whole
or
season
something.
TV, a
Yeah.
really hit movie.
Something that you don't have
Yeah.
to turn off when your kids walk in the room. That's a
And-
good indication.
You know, this is a good quick example here. You have to be willing to shift your viewpoints of what you want to take in. I, as a North American male, European males probably agree, I love James Bond. I love the original books. The concept of James Bond, very much intentionally designed to appeal to males. It's been very well executed over the years. There's been some
I
crappy
have
movies.
no idea where you're going with this.
I'm talking about media, and what are you gonna watch?
Yeah.
Right. So I bought the new
Sorry,
James
excuse
Bond.
my pour.
That's fine. Top me up. So, I bought the new James Bond DVD. Mm-hmm. Right? Actually, we haven't bought a DVD in probably a year.
Because we have a huge DVD.
We do have a huge collection. I bought it, and I felt so bad for
Was
Daniel
it a
Craig.
load of garbage?
You know
I
what they
didn't even
did?
watch it.
I'm in a spoiler because
Okay, turn it close to
if
your
you
ears
don't want to
if
hear
you
it,
wanna-
this is a major spoiler alert. So I think most people following it now know that they killed Daniel Craig at the end.
Oh, really?
Well, because he's old and tired and
I
he's
can't believe
rich.
he did another one.
Daniel Craig is phenomenal.
He has
I'm a
looked
huge fan.
Like he was on his last James Bond for like the last 3 James Bonds.
Well, because he had to do a bunch of steroids.
Okay.
And I can't imagine working with the family that owns James Bond as any picnic.
Yeah.
But the movie itself was phenomenally produced.
What are they? The cabbages? The broccolis? Is it broccoli?
It's the Albert Broccoli.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if Albert's alive, but his daughter does it.
Ooh.
Anyway, phenomenal production value. Really good directorial for the most part. However, the main theme aligns with woke culture. Okay, he doesn't kiss a guy, but here's part of woke culture that
He discovers he's actually a woman.
first he discovers that he has had a daughter with Madeline Swan.
Who's that?
His female love interest from the previous movie, Spectre.
Okay.
Okay, and they create this whole sub
I
story.
love kids that you don't know about. Like that could ever happen.
Yeah.
Go on.
So anyway, in this movie, he discovers that the last time he was with her and they broke up, they had a kid. He got her pregnant, and she's been raising this kid secretly.
Secretly.
Yeah. So the problem.
It just goes to show you that Hollywood does not understand families,
No,
mothers, fathers, or anything.
No. This is an intentional massacre.
Yes.
This is an intentional attack. This was engineered
Okay.
to break down families. Anyway, I'm gonna finish this up. I
Yeah.
know we're going over.
Okay, people don't care. We're going over.
Whatever.
Going over, people.
Nobody's listening right now because I'm recording on my laptop.
Laptop. What's that reference from?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
Oh, that-
Vince Vaughn, phenomenal scene. Phenomenal scene.
I don't like either of those
I don't like
things.
either of those, chocolate and vanilla, but maybe
you
you could
mix them together.
mix it together in a nice little swirl.
Yeah.
Be a nice little dish.
The way he looks at that chick,
Wink.
I wish you'd
The
look
way
at me
Vince
that way
Vaughn
sometimes.
winks, I do. That's why we have 7 children. Anyway, so getting back to the newest James Bond movie, which is absolute, just tripe, just absolute intestines. So he discovers he has a daughter, right? And then they kill him at the end. So not only
now
did they kill
she's the
James
new
Bond,
James Bond?
no, they didn't take it that far.
okay.
Actually, the new James Bond is an African American woman who was the
it is.
sidekick.
That makes sense.
I don't need to disagree. She was the sidekick. This actress actually played a wonderful part in the was it Captain Marvel with the blonde girl,
Oh, I liked her.
Brie Larson?
Yeah.
Okay,
I didn't necessarily
don't
like
know-
that movie, but I liked that character.
I really liked the movie despite being
Okay.
a standard North American male.
We're so far over
Whatever,
that the
we'll keep
Morse
clipping.
code message that's at the end is
Yeah.
playing in my ear now.
Oh, is it?
I don't know if anyone's noticed this.
Anyway, I
but
gotta finish
If
this.
you can tell us what the Morse code message is at the end of our episode, we're gonna send you a little treat. So
Nice. So you'll have to move that track. I do apologize, but this is really important. This is how the media is trying, or one side of the media is trying to attack family values, and this ties directly into what do we watch and why do we watch it off the grid. So they kill James Bond, but the whole point of my story is first they give him a kid,
Yeah.
and then they kill her dad.
Yeah. Of course they do.
They could have. I would have been fine with him killing James Bond.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that Daniel Craig is tired.
Put him out of his misery.
Kill him. Fine. Great.
Yeah.
He had a great run. In
Let's
my
get a new James
opinion,
Bond.
the best run since Sean Connery.
Yeah.
However, they gave him a kid first,
And then
they murdered the dad.
Yeah.
It's like an intentional. I'm cutting your head off. Like,
yeah.
who
Okay,
do you
so
people
Hollywood
think you
is
are?
gross.
Hollywood is gross. However, the directorial and the production value was amazing. So there's still good stuff out there. You just have to keep your eyes
But
out
tell
for
me,
it.
is that DVD still in our DVD case?
No, I returned it. I actually had to make a special trip to the city,
Yeah.
like an hour drive
Because
each
that's
way.
what we have to do because we live in the middle of nowhere.
No,
And even if it costs me more in gas, I don't want them to have my $20. Yeah.
no. And that's what it's about, is you have to ask when you're watching things, what does this really represent?
What's it saying?
Does this support family life and
What
traditional
was that
values?
movie that we watched? And it was a really good movie at first, and then it turned out to be vaccine propaganda.
Oh,
Right? It was a really good, like, he was kicked out of the army for taking painkillers for his knee.
The Contractor, Chris Pine.
It was epic.
Contractor.
And then all of a sudden it was, it's vaccine propaganda.
Yeah. Like, stop
Oh.
it. Stop it.
It's like they took an old screenplay off the floor and they're like, how can we work
You know
our
what it
agenda
is?
into
The people
this?
in charge, I don't know who's in charge of all of this stuff right now, they are showing just how unintelligent they
Mm-hmm.
are. They got the whole phase of whatever, I'm not going to get censored here.
Mm-hmm. That thing.
They messed it up.
Yeah.
They just did a crap job of it, and
Yeah.
it failed.
Yeah.
And I mean,
For humans to think that they can do God's work,
well,
they
that's...
can't create a virus as well as nature can.
No,
So-
they can't. Yeah, The Contractor, it was great for the first half.
Yeah, it really got me in there.
Incredible camera work.
Yeah.
Phenomenal
Epic story,
acting
the
by Chris
background
Pine.
was great, and then all of a sudden it just fell off a cliff. It was like
Suddenly,
they gave it to some 18-year-old kid in film school, and they're like, "Here, make this
make
about
this about
vaccine."
that. That's exactly what it felt like.
So, I would start with a heavily curated DVD collection
Yeah.
with lots of older shows and
Yeah.
movies, like early 2000s and older.
Yeah, search the bargain bin. Go to
You know,
Amazon
like
and just
the
search
kids
DVDs.
like
yeah.
those old, like Little House on the Prairie and
Now we
all that
watch.
stuff.
The only subscription that we have is Prime Video,
Because it comes with Prime.
because we like to get our packages and have the warranty program and the
Yeah.
customer service that Prime offers. We've had that for 20 years.
Since the time
I don't
that
know
Amazon
how long.
started.
Yeah, we've had it
And we
since.
were getting packages to the States, and we had to drive across the border to pick them up.
That's right.
It was
yeah,
epic.
we had to go out of our way. So we've always been Prime members.
And because of that, they will take basically anything back from
Yeah,
us.
just tell them the truth, and
Yeah.
they're
We've
like,
never
yep,
done
no
anything
problem.
sketchy, and years later, your mixer breaks, they'll return it for us, no problem.
What did I do? Oh, my chainsaw. I was
Yeah.
talking about my DeWalt chainsaw
Yeah.
earlier.
They sent us a new one.
I did, yeah. So anyway, Prime is great. You have to curate, but I found that
Even
Prime
Roku, though.
hasn't gone full woke.
But you have to be...
Oh, you gotta be ready.
cautious.
Yeah, you do.
Even with kids stuff, like you can't let them watch Pete
Yeah.
the Cat. You can't let them watch Creative Galaxy. Has got a lot of that stuff in it. There's some
They
shows
sneak it in.
that you really need to watch.
Yeah.
And if you've got kids home all day, you can never turn it off. Like you can't turn your watchfulness off.
Yeah, not the TV.
Yeah, please do turn it off.
We
Yeah.
do not watch a lot of.
You know what I
media.
saw today on 1,000 Hours Outside? It's a book and also a really good Instagram channel.
Hmm.
She said the average child gets 24 to 40 hours outside per year.
What?
I couldn't quite understand that. Our kids get more than that every week.
Well, they were
I
outside
don't
today
know.
for.
The kids went outside and they each gave me a half an hour of weeding in the morning.
Yeah, but
Then they
have.
did bikes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
then they were in
Parker's
the,
out on his bike constantly.
yeah,
and
then
so
they were out in the pool.
I'm gonna say 3 hours.
They're gonna have at least 5, but some
Yeah.
of the kids will have way more than that.
Let's say an average of 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
So
So they get like 28 hours at least every single week.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
And I feel like they could go out more.
Yeah, I wish they would. Especially in the summer. We don't school year round.
No.
We take like May, June off. And then when it starts to get really hot, July and August, we'll start school again because they're inside a lot.
Yeah.
And then we take September off usually.
Yeah.
And then we start up again.
Yeah.
So they could get out more. And I cannot imagine them getting out less.
No.
That seems really unhealthy. So there's something you can do instead of DVDs and TV.
Go outside. Yeah.
You also kind of need to build a solid home library with like fiction and nonfiction with good morals and information.
Yeah.
Because frankly, we don't use the library anymore because you never know when you're going to stumble into drag queen reading hour. You don't know that's a thing, do you?
I don't know that's a thing,
That's a
but
thing.
that sounded funny.
That's a thing. That's
Anyway.
a thing.
That's disgusting.
And the children's sections are full of things that you wouldn't want any adult to read, let alone a child.
Mm-hmm.
So we do not use the library.
Right.
We order books, we use Kindle Unlimited, and we buy books. So,
Nice.
yeah. And even with the Ambleside list, I still try and read alongside the kids. And if I can't keep up with them, I do the same books they're reading, but on audiobook.
The way I figure is this whole woke thing is an intentional tactic by an occupying force.
Like,
Right.
the-
No, not necessarily. It might
They're
be
occup-
Russians.
it's not the Russians, it's the Chinese.
I won't
Wait,
even
are they
comment.
not the same people?
I won't even comment on who is occupying North American culture.
But
However,
it's not America.
Somebody is occupying
Yeah.
and trying to intentionally take down North American culture.
And how to do that, but to take over the minds of your children.
Now, what makes cultures great,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to say what makes the Chinese great,
Mm-hmm.
is hard work,
Yeah.
family values,
Mm-hmm.
and working together.
Yes.
I don't care for the purposes of this statement that a lot of cultures, in fact, probably all cultures, use a huge amount of slave labor. The things that make a successful business work, successful family work, successful country, is there's a point in that country's history where they all decided to buckle down and just get the job done.
And we're at the point where everybody's just letting it all go to
We are living, and have been living for only the last 20
Yeah.
or so years,
in worse poverty.
worse poverty than the Great Depression.
Yeah. If you were employed in the Great Depression, you have it better than you have it now. Can we move on?
Yeah, all right.
The last thing. News. Where do you get your news? Do you take in news?
Babylon Bee's fantastic.
So I
I'm
save
so proud of
memes
them to be able to
from the
tell
Babylon Bee and not the bee.
Yeah.
And then if my husband doesn't know what I'm talking about because he literally doesn't trust or watch the news,
I don't watch
I'll fill him
anything.
in the background and we'll like do a little research. And the Babylon Bee is epic. And if you want another podcast to listen to after this, listen to the Babylon Bee podcast on Fridays where they're kind of riffing about their headlines and stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
Also, I do the morning wire every morning. It's like 10 to 12 minutes of just the basics of what's happening that day. It is not progressive. It tells you the facts. It is not from any one angle. It might be a little bit more on the right-hand angle, but 5 years ago, it would have been considered very centrist.
Do you remember when Progressive was Progressive Conservative Party of Canada? Yeah.
Okay,
But that was
we don't want to
extremely
dox
right-wing.
ourselves.
Yeah, but like that's just another.
So what I would do
Mm-hmm.
is I would listen to Morning Wire if you have a need for news or you're weaning yourself off of news. I would have Babylon Bee on my Instagram for entertainment, and then I would just get on with my life.
Yeah. There's really not a lot.
They're
out
not
there.
going to tell you the truth anyways.
No.
Like the outage we just dealt with yesterday or on Friday.
The internet outage. The Canadian-wide.
It was
like
it was
a
internet,
phones.
911,
Yeah.
debit, a lot of credit cards,
was that not-
ATM machines.
I'm guessing that wasn't all over
it
the.
was very downplayed, and I only saw it on the news today.
Once again, occupying force.
They're not going to tell you the truth anyway, so why listen to the news?
Yeah.
And so that is my advice for opting out and things you can do instead. We are way, way, way over.
Yeah, this
so
is
we're
2
just going to
episodes
go
now.
ahead and publish and say thanks for listening, and you can check us out on Instagram. We want to thank Patreon for helping us get the show out. And remember that if you sign up for Patreon, you get exclusive merch delivered every 3 months. And there's some cute stuff. T-shirts, hoodies, stickers, and mugs. And if you follow us on Facebook or Instagram, you can submit your questions for our future shows, and we will do our best to answer them. And again, let's repeat yesterday's quote of the day.
Proverbs 27 verse 12, a prudent person takes precautions. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.
I'm not a talker. I'm not a talker.